Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's take up the daily quiz for today. The first question. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, or OSCE, is known to perform which of the following functions? Arms control, promotion of human rights, conflict prevention and post-conflict rehabilitation, crisis management, counterterrorism. See, the OSCE is known to perform all these five given functions, and hence option D is the right answer. A question on this international organization has been taken up because it finds a mention in two articles of today's The Hindu newspaper. In relation to the ongoing crisis between Russia and Ukraine, France has been trying to talk to Russia to work out a ceasefire in order to help mediate the crisis through a grouping known as OSCE. This organization is going to meet today and it will look to work out a peaceful resolution with the involvement of key members of OSCE such as France, Poland, Russia, Ukraine and the others. This grouping known as OSCE, or the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, is considered to be the world's largest intergovernmental security-oriented organization. It also holds the observer status at the United Nations. The origin of this grouping can be traced to the Cold War, when an attempt was made to form a security grouping to connect the Eastern and Western countries, which led to the formation of the Conference on Security and Cooperation in Europe in 1975. This conference was held at Helsinki in Finland, which later laid the foundation for the establishment of the OSCE. The secretariat of this grouping is located at Vienna in Austria, and as a security-oriented grouping, it primarily focuses on arms control, promotion of human rights, conflict prevention and post-conflict rehabilitation, crisis management, and counterterrorism, with focus on the European region and the immediate areas surrounding it. This grouping has nearly 57 member countries, and the members are not just limited to Europe, but it also has members from North America and few parts of Asia, especially Central Asia, as you can see in this map. Most of the members of the grouping are from the Northern Hemisphere, and this grouping is known to play a key role in conflict resolution, especially on the European continent. With regard to the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which has been going on from 2014, it is the OSCE which has been playing the role of an observer, trying to mediate and resolve the conflict, and its key members, France and Germany, have even held several rounds of negotiations known as the Normandy format, which includes Russia and Ukraine as well. Through the Normandy format, these four countries have even worked out the Minsk Accord or the Minsk Treaties, which is supposed to provide for a peaceful resolution of the conflict in Ukraine. Now let's take a look at the second question. The Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan was brokered by United States, World Bank, UN Security Council, United Kingdom and France. The correct answer is option B. The Indus Water Treaty, which was signed in 1960 between India and Pakistan, provides for the sharing of the waters of the Indus River Basin. This landmark treaty was brokered by the World Bank, which mediated the agreement between India and Pakistan. This topic is in news because according to this article in the Hindu, the Permanent Indus Commission is going to hold its annual meeting, and accordingly, a 10-member Indian delegation is going to visit Pakistan to provide for the continued implementation of the Indus Water Treaty. So this treaty, which was signed in 1960, was mediated by the World Bank and provides for the distribution and sharing of water resources of the Indus River Basin. This treaty primarily divides the Indus River Basin into the western rivers and the eastern rivers. The western rivers comprising of Jhelum, Chenab and Indus have been largely allocated to Pakistan, with India being given very limited rights, which allows India to use these rivers only for non-consumptive purposes, such as very limited storage and irrigation, run-of-the-river power plants, navigation and transportation, etc. Whereas the eastern rivers, that is Ravi, Satluj and Bias, have been largely allotted to India, which enjoys exclusive rights over the usage of these rivers. To keep the terms of this agreement in operation, both the countries meet annually, which allows the Indus water commissioners of both the sides to meet under the Permanent Indus Commission, which has been established by the Indus Water Treaty. Now let's look at the third question. Which of the following statements are incorrect? Pashmina wool and shawls are made from animal hair fiber, forming the downy undercoat of the Changtangi goat. It is a special breed of goat indigenous to the high altitude regions of Ladakh. These goats are domesticated and reared by nomadic communities called the Changpa. Amongst the given statements, all the three statements are correct. So option D is the right answer, because the question is asking you to identify the incorrect statement. See, the world famous Pashmina wool and shawls are made out of animal hair fiber, which is taken from the undercoat of the Changtangi goat, or also popularly known as the Pashmina goat, which is indigenous to the high altitude Changtang region of Ladakh. These goats are reared and domesticated by nomadic tribal communities called the Changpa, who are largely found in the Changtang region of Ladakh, and they are also found in neighboring Tibet in China. The high quality wool produced from this goat is used for producing ultra fine fibers, which in turn goes into the making of the world famous Kashmir shawls, which has even procured a GI tag for its geographical uniqueness. So since all the given statements are correct, option D is the right answer. This question was taken up because we have an article in the Hindu that pays tribute to the Pashmina wool and the Pashmina shawls. Now let's take a look at the fourth question. It is an emerging science that deals with engineering life forms for a wide range of applications, from making designer medicines to foods. It is seen as one of the top 10 breakthrough technologies as part of the new industrial revolution that are most likely to change the world. Instances of its application include the use of gene editing systems such as CRISPR that allow defective genes in animals, plants, and even people to be silenced or changed and control biological outcomes. This field of science and technology is known as synthetic biology, artificial bioscience, modified biology, engineered biology. The correct answer is option A. The description given here refers to synthetic biology. See, synthetic biology is a field of science that involves redesigning organisms for useful purposes by engineering them to have new abilities. These advances at the genetic level can have a number of applications in the field of medicine, agriculture, and as well as across several industries. This multidisciplinary area of science and research is referred to as synthetic biology, and it encompasses a broad range of various disciplines such as biotechnology, genetic engineering, molecular biology, systems biology, biophysics, etc. This topic is in news because according to this article in the Hindu, the government of India has proposed a policy on synthetic biology. This proposal dates back its origin to a task force that the government of India had set up in 2011 under the 12th five-year plan. This task force was asked to consider the applications of synthetic biology, and after several rounds of discussions and debates, the government is looking to introduce a policy that would promote synthetic biology as an emerging area of science. Now let's take up a question from the 2019 Prelims paper. Which of the following is not included in the assets of a commercial bank in India? Advances, deposits, investments, money at call, and short notice. The correct answer is option B, deposits. Deposits are actually liabilities for a commercial bank, because the bank has to return the deposits to the user as and when they demand, and hence it becomes a liability on the bank. Whereas the assets of a bank includes advances, loans, investments, etc. So option B is the correct answer. Now coming to the fact of the day, let's look at this infographic from the Hindu called the data point, which throws some light on the return of polio to Africa. See, polio is an infectious disease caused by the polio virus, and it primarily affects the central nervous system, leading to muscle weakness. which eventually results in paralysis of entire limbs. Primarily young children are affected by the virus, which leads to weakness and complete paralysis of their legs and hands. And in many cases, the disease can be fatal as well as the children reach adulthood. This deadly virus has affected most parts of the world, but through a concerted global effort, it has been wiped out from majority of the countries, especially in developed countries such as United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, etc. The virus has been completely eradicated, with their last cases being detected as far back as in 1960s, 1970s. But developing underdeveloped nations, they still continued to battle polio virus through the 1990s and early 2000s, and especially few countries such as Nigeria, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and a few other African countries were some of the last places where the polio virus was detected. But through a massive vaccination effort and through awareness, India has eradicated the wild polio virus and has managed to remain polio free over the last few years. But recently, outbreaks have been reported in Pakistan, and this has led to an imported case in an African country known as Malawi. So, this marks the return of polio to Africa, which has remained as a polio free region from a long time. But this case doesn't affect the polio free status of Africa because this is an imported case from Pakistan. So, only these few countries remain the last hideout of the polio virus, which includes Pakistan and Afghanistan, and few countries in Africa such as Nigeria and Malawi. Even though India has managed to eradicate the polio virus and achieve the polio free tag, India still remains at risk because one, India shares a border with Pakistan, and two, there are a few states in India where the vaccination coverage is still very low. For example, in backward states such as Uttar Pradesh, the polio vaccination coverage is still under 75%. Even in the northeast of India, the vaccination coverage is extremely low as compared to the national average, where many states have registered more than 80 to 90% coverage of the polio vaccination. So, the recent re-emergence of the polio virus in Pakistan and in few African countries highlights the importance of vaccination in our fight against any infectious disease. So, with this, let's conclude our discussion for today. Thanks for watching.